Hello and welcome to the Odds On podcast for myself, Roy the Boy, and Adrian the Great Dane. Now this week I'm going to be looking and talking snooker. I think I found a great bet on the horses too, but first Adrian is going to take a look at the beautiful game at a time when the excitement is starting to build for the forthcoming football season. Now a reminder, this presentation is for people aged 18 and older as it contains gambling themes, lots and lots of them. And so a reminder, you are encouraged to visit gambleaware.org, which provides free advice, self-help tools, education, and a helpline if you believe your gambling activities have or could be becoming troublesome. Now, my advice, keep your stakes small and keep it fun. But without further ado, Adrian, what do you have for us this week?
Thanks, Roy. Well, the big news for me is that the Premier League has already spent more than £1 billion this summer, and the British transfer record has been broken twice in a matter of days. But the real story is not only who is buying, it's who is selling, who is rebuilding, and how the money is changing the promotion race all the way down the EFL. So today, the two record deals, the clubs that have played the market best, and the rebuild that worries me the most, and the three EFL prices that deserve a closer look. Right, so before we get started, the usual disclaimers. This is an 18-plus betting show from bestbettingsites.co.uk. We may earn commission if you join a bookmaker through one of our links. Every price is the best sportsbook price I could verify at time of recording, and exchanges are excluded. Prices move, terms vary, and implied probability is a translation of the price, not a guarantee. So, Manchester City paid a reported $116 million for Elliot Anderson. Then Chelsea, not to be outdone, paid $117 million for Morgan Rogers, £1 million more. So, on the outside, it looks like theatre. But both deals tell us something serious. Proven homegrown Premier League talent has become the most expensive currency in football. So let's have a quick look at Morgan Rogers and the numbers behind that. He's 23 years old, and according to ESPN, he made 32 starts, 8 goals, 5 assists. So what are Chelsea buying beyond them goals? Because let's be honest, 8 goals is not really a great deal of amount of goals. Well, it's Premier League certainty, homegrown status, positional flexibility, and a player entering his peak development years. So on a personal view, I think that Chelsea are not just paying only for last season, they're paying for scarcity. There aren't many 23-year-old English attackers who are already physically dominant, tactically flexible and productive in the Premier League. So also that gets us on to then Elliot Anderson, the numbers behind him. He's also 23. He made 38 appearances, 4 goals and 4 assists. So his Forest career output, 6 goals, 10 assists across 75 Premier League appearances. And he made 7 starts for England at the 2026 World Cup. So why City? So he can receive under pressure, carry through midfield, play as a number 6 or 8, and he satisfies the homegrown requirement. So Anderson is a safer tactical fit. Rogers is a more explosive match winner. Both fees are enormous, but neither player is a random luxury purchase. So, kind of gets you onto the actual transfer market, and it's hard to disagree that Aston Villa are the best sellers, and nobody's used the sellers market better than Aston Villa. Rogers for 117 million. They also sold Youri Tielemans for 36, and then Mellon for more than 21 million. So that means close to 180 million bankrolled with less than 100 million reinvested. Now, I do want to move on to Tottenham, but before I do, just a quick word about Johan Manzambi, who Villa have bought. 20 years old, he played in the Bundesliga, 5 goals, 4 assists, and he played a massive 2,094 minutes. Scored an average rating of 7.07, and he scored 3 times for Switzerland at the World Cup. So his international record is 16 caps, 6 goals. But the reason I want to highlight him is this is a player I'm going to be backing in the cards market. He got 4 yellow cards, 2 red cards as in the Bundesliga, which tells me his aggression really needs managing. Now, as we know about the Premier League, often new players come in and they get the matching orders pretty quick. So if I was a betting man, which I am, I would be backing him in the to be sent off in at least one of his first 5 games for Aston Villa. So if Villa were the best sellers, then I think you've got to give the best buyers award to Tottenham. I can't believe I'm actually saying that. But Tottenham spent roughly 230 million. But the interesting part is the mix. So they've record level fees for midfield quality, then experienced free transfers to stabilise the squad. So one of the biggest signings they've got is Tonali, and he's 26-year-old, arguably entering his peak years. He's made 30 appearances, 26 starts, no goals and 2 assists last year. Played 2,543 league minutes and an average rating of 7.04. So his value is not really the goal output, it's kind of the tempo control, the long passing, defensive positioning and the press assistance. So again, it's a huge outlay, 92.5 million rising to 100 million. It's a huge premium for controlling midfielder rather than someone who's going to score you an awful lot of goals. They also bought Fernandes, 22-year-old, and he scored 3 goals, 4 assists, and an impressive 3,024 minutes. His average FOTMAP rating is 7.24, and again, high availability. He's rated strongly for his starts and minutes played. And he's really a workhorse, and he's going to be able to play through the pressure. And again, the doubt with this one is the 85 million fee. That's you're kind of pricing in the future improvements, and will that happen? Who knows? They also got Van Heck, 36 appearances, 3 goals, 3 assists, and 9 clean sheets. Defender, made 189 clearances, 53 tackles, and 47 interceptions. Now, here's another one who's played an awful lot of minutes, 3,211 and an average rating of 7.10. So he's durable, he's a front foot defender, comfortable with high possession and progressive build-up. So again, the doubt with him is moving from Brighton structure to a high pressure back line, and that can expose the decision making. But they've spent heavily, but they've also got the free transfers in. They've got Andy Robertson, who left Liverpool after 9 seasons. He made 378 appearances across all appearances, and he had 56 league assists and 22,144 league minutes. So, but his role during the last season was reduced. He just made 24 appearances with 1 goal. But his leadership, his pressing habits and his title-winning experience will be invaluable, but 32 years old is a bridge signing rather than a long-term answer. And then you also have Sensei, who he made 37 league appearances, 5 assists, and 11 clean sheets. Now, he's had 1,067 tackles. No, he's not. Then we have Marcos Senesi. He made 37 appearances, 5 assists, and he rates about 1.67 tackles, 1.31 interceptions, and 6.81 clearances per 90 minutes. He left Bournemouth at his contract expiry after 114 Premier League experiences. So why Spurs? Well, experienced left-footed centre-back, no transfer fee. And the only doubt with him, free does not mean cheap once wages and signing on fees are included. And then there's also Martin Dubravka, a veteran Premier League goalkeeper. He's acquired as cover rather than as a long-term starter. He knows the league very well, low acquisition risk, and experienced dressing room voice. So again, the doubt with him is limited resale value, and he's just likely a short-term squad rotation. So one team that really does concern me this season is going to be Newcastle. They've raised roughly 170 million from Tonali and Anthony Gordon and the Trippier deals. So the balance sheet looks healthier, but the team sheet frankly doesn't. So what has left the team? Well, Tonali's tempo, press resistance and control of them central spaces. Anthony Gordon, his direct running, his transitional speed and ability to stretch a back line. And then Trippier, who can forget his set-piece mastery, his leadership and game management. And then further risk is that Bruno might be out the door. It's uncertain, and it looks like he might be joining Arsenal. So who's come in? Well, they're really concentrating on the youth. They've got Bazuma Toure who's come in. He was signed for 42 million. They've also added a few other players, but again, it's all younger players, and they're looking at future transfer value. So why it may fail early is promising players do not automatically replace leadership, and I think they might struggle this year. So punters do not back balance sheets; they back functioning midfields, and until Newcastle replace the control and experience they've sold, I'd be cautious about their price. Right, before we move on to the EFL, let's have a quick look at the title odds that are currently available. So you won't be surprised that Arsenal are still up in front. 6-4 is the price I'm seeing at Bet365. William Hill, pretty much everyone is offering the same price. 11-4 on Man City, and again, bookmakers are almost a unison at 11-4. I see Betway at 3-1, which is pretty decent. Then we've got Liverpool, you're talking fives, just ahead of Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham, Villa and Newcastle. Now, if you want a big outsider for the title, you can have Hull at 3,000, you can Ipswich at 2,000, same price as Coventry, and Sunderland at 750 to 1. Now, relegation odds, no big surprises here though, to be honest. Hull 1-4 to go down, 1-5 at William Hill, Unibet, Betfred, and then Ipswich at 4-6, Coventry at 8-13, Sunderland 11-4, Fulham 11-2, and same price for Leeds. Right, now it's time to turn our attention to the EFL. So it's quite interesting, really, because the Championship, they've changed how the promotion place works. So it's now 2 automatic promotion, 6 teams in the playoff for a third place under the new format. So that means you've got 8 teams that are in the mix at the end of the season. So it should hopefully see us enjoying football until the last game of the season in the EFL. So in the League One, it's 2 top automatic and the 3rd to 6 in the playoffs. You got 4 relegated there. League 2 is the top 3 automatic and 4 to 7 in the playoffs and 2 relegated. So several teams can be promoted. So when I talk about the raw implied probabilities, they will not add up to 100%. So let's start with the Championship, shall we? So West Ham are the favourite, but at what price? So the research price is 4 to 6, which is an implied probability of about 60%. Now, you've got to remember, they finished 18th in the Premier League with 39 points. They were comfortably above the other relegated clubs there. Now, the manager, Santos, has stayed, reducing the coaching transition risk. But the major exits, you've got Fernandes there, Somerville for up to 60 million, and then, say, 85 for Fernandes. So they are cash rich. One of the major positives with them, really, though, is Bowen staying with the club. I'm not sure if it's that he's scared of his father-in-law. But anyway, he's decided to give it at least another season, so that really boosts their chances. So, I think West Ham's badge is doing more work than the current squad at the price, but I expect them certainly to be in the mix for promotion. If you're asking me who the value bet is, probably Middlesbrough. They're priced at 4 to 1, that's only a probability percentage of 20%. But they finished 5th with 80 points and reached the playoff final. They've added players, they've got more attacking options now. Now, the major loss is Hayden Hackney. He was last season's Championship Player of this season. But again, they've proven current division baseline. And again, the relegated clubs, they're still rebuilding. And I think Middlesbrough are going to be there and thereabouts. So I'd rather take a 4-1 about a side that has already produced 80 championship points and take odds on against a relegated club whose midfield has been stripped. Right, let's finish off today then discussing League Two. So, no big surprises really. That's Salford City 5-4 to get promotion there, just ahead of Bristol Rovers. They're priced at 15-8. Ahead of Barnet at 2s, Port Vale 9-4, Chesterfield 9-4, and a special shout out to Grimsby Town, are priced at 5-2. Grimsby being my hometown club. Just to add to them, they Stormer last night. They played in the against Championship local rivals Lincoln, and the Mariners came away with a 5-1 win there, leading half-time at 3-0, which was a massive surprise to me, to say the least. Looking at the other clubs, though, again, Barnet at 2-1. You can probably say they're the continuity case. That's a probability of around 30%. They finished 8th last season on 76 points, 2 points short of the playoff. Their goal difference was plus 17, so it shows that they're an attacking team, and with Dean Brennan remaining in charge, again, they're a good outsider bet there. York City is one that I'm not sure about. They're priced at 11-4. Now, they won the National League with 108 points, and Ollie Piercy scored 34 league goals with them. So they could be dark horses. But again, it's going to be Salford and Bristol Rovers, who you feel are going to be the two automatic ones there. So my three small ante-post leans at research prices: Middlesbrough promotion at 4-1, Plymouth promotion at 9-2, Barnet promotion of 9-4, and then small positions, not promises, squads change, prices move, and the market is only a starting position there. So, just to close then, the biggest winner of the window so far is Aston Villa. The most ambitious buyer is Tottenham, and the club I worry about most is Newcastle. And the EFL value conversation starts with Middlesbrough, Plymouth, and Barnet. So money does not only change the Premier League, it changes the betting markets all the way down to the pyramid, and the value often appears before the rebuilds are fully understood. Now, just to recap what I said before, this is an 18-plus show. Only state what you can afford to lose. If gambling has stopped being fun, there is free and confidential help available through GambleAware and the National Gambling Helpline. Take time to think, and I'll see you next week.
The 2026-27 snooker season has kicked into gear with the Shanghai Masters. Now, this is a non-ranking event, but the prize money is great, meaning all the big-name players are there. That includes Ronnie O'Sullivan. He did, the Rocket, lose out to Corin Wilson in the quarterfinal stages, however. Zhao Guodong did land a 147 when he beat Neil Robertson in the last 16 stage, but then Neil Robertson, was consequently whitewashed 6-0 by the 2025 world champion Zhao Xingtong. He then therefore progressed to the semi-finals, the first player to make the semi-finals. Now, the class of 92ers, John Higgins and Mark Williams, have gone deep, as has the 2026 world champion Wu Yais. Now, personally, I think the days of us asking when will the Chinese players dominate the sport are pretty much over, and we should accept that the revolution is now well underway. It's interesting for me that Ronnie O'Sullivan heaped praise on Lu Lin Hao, the 18-year-old who he beat in the opening round of the Shanghai Masters. Now, the youngster recorded the highest break of the match, and I think with Ronnie's endorsement, and that considered, he could be a name for the notebook. Turning to the World Championship, which is scheduled to start next April. Wait for it, it's only 8 months away. And it's Zhao Xingtong and Wu Yais that top the betting on 9-2 and 13-2. So that's the defending champion and the 2025 champion. Judd Trump had a really ordinary 2025 season, and he wasn't great in 24-25 either, let's not forget. He only took the German Masters last year, Nevertheless, the bookmakers know his class is in there somewhere, and he's a 7-1 shot. As for Ronnie O'Sullivan to win the World Championship yet again, well, if he pulls it off next year, he will land the odds of 9-1. That's a quick look at the snooker. That season's going to warm up nicely as we progress, but the Shanghai Masters, it's a good way of deciding right now who's hot and who's not. Horse racing then, and Galway and the Glorious Goodwood Festivals conclude this weekend. While there are a couple of group races at the Sussex track, it's fair to say that neither has kept the best for last. Nevertheless, the Cavalry Charge, that is the Stewards Cup Handicap, is one of the most popular races on the calendar, but for me it's also a minefield. I'm not looking at the big meetings this weekend, and I've come up with a plan. Now, let me ask you a question. £69.23. That's what you would have won if you'd have backed every horse this jockey has ridden this season. Question is, what's his name? Well, that's K.A.F. Fraser. And on Saturday, he'll travel up to Hamilton to ride just one horse in the final race on the card at 9 p.m. Now, the horse's name is Defence Missile. Interesting horse is gone through its form, and he was previously rated 80. He now runs off of 50. He popped up just a week ago, scoring on the all-weather at Newcastle at 22-1. I think, and I sense that trainer Linda Perrott is going to strike while the iron is hot. Everything considered, with the jockey booking, this has to be my bet of the day. Across in the States, well, we have the Arlington Million. It's no longer raced at Arlington Park, as that track was demolished, sadly, because it was a monster and it was beautiful. The race now takes place at the lesser-known Colonial Downs. Look out for a Chilean racer here called Gran Oriente. He's chasing a four-timer, having won on both the east and west coast of America, successful at Santa Anita and Gulfstream. To any race at those two tracks, you can't be a mug. Now, this race is over 10 furlongs on the turf, and dare I say it, not all US jockeys are their finest on the turf, and especially over these kind of distances. Anyway, this horse is assured to stay the trip. He's won over it before. He's raced over further. And in a perfectly framed 8-runner race, I think he can definitely bag an each-way place, and he will be a big price. So, the bet in North America, Gran Oriente, and up in Scotland for K.A. Fraser, one runner, one bet, and that is a Defence Missile. Guys, be lucky on the horses this weekend. And so that's a wrap for this week. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Odds On podcast, courtesy of bestbettingsites.co.uk. I will remind you once again that gambleaware.org has some fantastic self-help tools if you ever run into any sort of problem with your gambling activities. Likewise, at bestbettingsites.co.uk, you'll find plenty of help, advice, tools, organisations that you can go to. At the end of the day, gambling should be fun. Keep it that way by keeping the stakes nice and small. You be lucky. Have a great punting weekend. And we, myself and Adrian Dane, will look forward to talking to you then.